we're also able to establish kind of our culture, and that culture is around hard work, it's around grit, it's around resilience, and a lot of those different characteristics can be applied across a wide range of things. And I think you'll see that with by stepping into every one of our school sites. A lot of the program directors do a fantastic job of establishing that culture and kind of giving that no excuse kind of attitude, you know. And I think that's where our strength lies ultimately.
Yeah, and actually, Charlotte, I'd like to ask you, because the idea of a no excuse attitude is really it's a good thing, but there's a fine line where it's not about grit and resiliency. But if you're not careful, the kids may misinterpret that and feel shame. In other words, that they had a reason, or this is why I did it. But if it's done too heavily handed, it doesn't really connect. So how do you deal with that? Because it's a tricky thing to get kids to adopt a no excuse attitude without carrying shame around with them and resentment.
So this, gritty, no excuses attitude, it is definitely something that requires patience. And that is something that we're all prepared for. And with being a new program director at a new school that has never had a lacrosse program, I know that with my kids, it requires a lot of patience. And going off of the trust characteristic, when we do have that trust and once we have established that trust, it's so important for the kids to trust us, because once they're trusting us, suddenly we're becoming their mentor, we're becoming their leader, and the things that we do are some of the things that they're going to want to do. So leading by example is definitely something that everyone in the program does, because the kids are always watching us, seeing us, and for them to see us doing the right thing and having this grit and having this no excuse, suddenly they want to buy into that. And it isn't something that can always happen overnight, but we all know that we will have the patience, and we believe in these kids to do just that, to suddenly realize that there are no excuses, to want to have that grit. And that starts with us. That starts with the program directors, and that's the foundation that we try and lay. And we do expect it to take a little while, but we would never expect it to not happen.
And for you to get to that point, again, you mentioned that it takes a lot of patience. That's, again, it's easy to listen to that right now on this side of the the headphones. But what type of training did they put you through to be put in a position, because like you said, you're there to gain trust, but then you have to honor it as well. Once you've got their trust, then the real trust begins, that you don't abuse it. What type of training does Harlem Lacrosse provide to their program directors like you?
So when I first began, I actually started as an assistant program director, and I was working with another program director, Natasha Blackburn. And essentially what I loved is that the training was very open-minded. Trust isn't something that you can just write down and read over and over again and then understand. It's something that you need to be able to do yourself. And that's a hard thing to teach. So when I first started, I was with another program director at the Frederick Douglass Academy, and Harlem Lacrosse essentially just let me learn how to make these relationships. I had spoken with a lot of the staff members various times before, so they knew that I wanted to be a mentor. I wanted to be a leader, and I had these qualities. So going in, it was, welcome to the Frederick Douglass Academy. These are the lacrosse girls, and it's up to you to build this relationship and build this trust. And if you do need help, there was a program director there who did an awesome job of helping me when I wasn't completely sure of how to handle something, or I didn't exactly know what to do. So just being able to go in and really learn how to make my own relationships with the girls was really, really teaching.
So essentially they taught you how to earn someone's trust by offering theirs, that you would figure it out. Again, not through a book, not without structure and things like that. But that's a scary leap. Usually that seems to be where when people are being trained to do good things, in particular to help other people learn, to help them share, explore, and all those things, that there's a structure around it that seems necessary, and a little bit is. Like you said, there was a structure in that you were an assistant, but it can actually kill the whole process. And you've got someone, again, asking people to trust them who's never experienced full trust. Like I said, I wouldn't have guessed that was how you were trained, but I love it just because of that. It's a I can't believe you would have adapted it so quickly without carrying that sense of responsibility with you.
It definitely was honoring and humbling to be given the position. And of course I was very nervous. But throughout the entire process, I knew that I was doing what I was, moving forward, because my main focus were the kids, and I wanted to be able to build the relationship with them. And in hearing that, a lot of the other program directors who have the same mindset as me definitely respected that. And once I was chosen and I was given the position, I knew that I had been given it for a reason, and I needed to take on that reason, and I needed to respect that reason. So for them giving me that trust really gave me confidence that I was going to be an assistant program director for a reason, and all I needed to do was prove that reason. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think it sounds like anything but something that is guaranteed at the end. In other words, that after 6 weeks, you will be fill in the blank. After getting through each of these steps, you will be. We all like some certainty that if I work hard and do these things, you can get to a level of responsibility. But I wouldn't say there was any threats or worries you wouldn't get there, but it sounds as though it wasn't a foregone conclusion on your part. That just by going through the motions and being there each day, that you would have automatically earned that right to work with these kids directly.
So when I started in Frederick Douglass Academy, my main focus was not to move up to the program director position. It was, how can I build a connection with these girls? And I wanted the girls to look up to me. I wanted them to see me as a leader, and I wanted them to feel comfortable with me. And that was something that I really made a priority. I really had to work at it. I had to be a familiar face, and I also had to be someone that they felt comfortable enough to talk to. So being in the school and constantly focusing on how I can better my connection with the kids really kind of took away my focus on, moving up and getting up the ladder. It's more of, what can I do to make my students or my kids enjoy me more?
So essentially by, and I've had this discussion with someone who helps coach me and some of the things I work on, it's so important to get yourself into a place where it's not what you do, it's who you are. And if you can just give up, hate to say, you mentioned not having the focus on the next position. Essentially, you were just without worrying about getting it. It was the type of person that deserves that position. I think that's so critical. How do the kids define leadership? You mentioned you wanted to show that you were a leader to them. What do they think a leader is?
I would say the big thing we harp on at HL is just kind of leading by example. Actions, not words. We a big thing we've actually incorporated into our study halls in the past couple of years is the book by John Gordon highlighting George Boyardi, the Cornell lacrosse player that died tragically on the field, and his whole motto was "well done, better than well said," and that's something we really try to emphasize across all programs. That it's actions, it's not words. It's about getting your homework done before class starts. It's about participating in class. It's about being respectful to your school and your community, to your families, to your friends. It's about showing good sportsmanship on the field. It's about your actions. It's about presenting. It's about representing your community, your families, yourselves, most importantly, in the best manner possible at all times. That's something we try to bring to the table every day, and just keep harping on with every kid we work with. And I think I'd like to think, and again, patience does come into play here. But the kids do see leadership in that sort of lead by example, and the actions speak louder.
And I think that's the way I simply define it is a leader serves, and it can be, some are able to do it through words that convey, a certain feeling, a direction that, it's what people needed to get moving. But in the setting that you're talking, I think you're exactly right. They've heard enough words. They can get words 24/7, from their phones, from a screen anywhere. And it's the actions that are actually occurring in their life, not in some, online fantasy. And the actions that you're leading to, one of the key ones here is college readiness and career exploration. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because that is going beyond, you've got some amazing stats between their scores, their attendance, their graduation rates. And in fact, before we talk about college readiness, what are the numbers, the kids in the program, as far as the key metrics showing that they are having a far better school experience?
The key stats that we always harp on is that we've got a 100% graduation rate in middle school, and up till this year we have primarily been a middle school program. Owen Van Arsdale, who was an ex-UVA lacrosse player, actually started our very first high school program this past fall. So a lot of the career exploration and the college readiness, we're really just starting to hit our stride with that. It's the same kind of thinking. We're all about just creating support systems around each and every one of our kids and meet them where they are. And so we know success for every single kid is not necessarily going to Hopkins, but just supporting them to where they can meet their potential is kind of where our goals lie. I think the 100% graduation rate is one stat we harp on. We also support certain kids in the application process for prep schools around the country, and we've had students earn $24 million over the past 5 years in scholarship money to attend schools. We're like I said, we're really trying to build out those systems in the next couple of years because, we're now 20 programs nationwide now. We're not the 3 or 4 programs we were just in New York City, a short time ago. So I will say, the starting lineup for the 2011 Frederick Douglass Academy lacrosse team are now at Bates, Colby, and Haverford right now, and we're really, really proud of the success those guys